Welcome to another episode of Systematic Geekology. This is a space where we seek to create and cultivate healthy conversations between those things we geek out on and the philosophical and theological questions that often arise out of our fandoms. Like, what does it mean to be human? What makes a hero? What makes a villain? How do the stories and narratives we geek out on shape how we live in the world? We are your priest to the geeks. We aren't all ordained, but we see ourselves as mediators at the intersection of geek culture and going deeper in our faith. We don't always have to agree, but we do respect each other, and we see everyone as a beloved child of God. Everyone geeks out on something, so come geek out with us and enjoy the show.
This show is a proud member of the On Us All Podcast Network.
The kid will live centuries beyond me. So says The Mandalorian about Grogu in their eponymous film we're discussing here on Systematic Geekology, as well as the future Star Wars films for centuries to come. Hi, I'm Andy Walsh, and I am joined here by a veritable squadron of hosts, so we're going to go through them. Signing off, Will Rose. Welcome, and how are you doing, and what are you geeking out on?
Red 53 coming through. I'm doing great. Hey guys, it's good to be back here with you guys. I'm on sabbatical. I'm currently sabbaticaling. So that means doing some continuing ed, some rest and relaxation, decompressing, catching my breath, all that kind of stuff. And so I'm geeking out on that, as well as doing some reading for pleasure here at the beginning of the sabbatical. So books that I haven't had a chance to read yet, I'm grabbing. And the first one I'm reading is Theo of Golden by Alan Livy. And it is such a wholesome, feel-good, warm blanket of a book. I was suggested to me by 3 different people who didn't know each other. And on like 3 consecutive days, these people recommend it. So nice. It's a very, very cool book. I'm about halfway through and can't wait to see how it ends. And then in honor of TJ and his birthday, I'm actually geeking out on Hurricanes hockey right now, because they're about to go into the one win away from the Stanley Cup, and I've never watched hockey until this series and this run. So there you go. That's what sabbatical means to me. Maybe I'm picking up a new love of a new sport. I don't know, but yeah, that's what I'm geeking out on.
Awesome, thanks, Will. And going around the circle here, Evan Trapper Wolfgrown Garcia. What are you geeking out on?
Well, I'm fully geeking out on the summer movie season that's already kicked off with Mando and Grogu. I've seen Obsession, and I literally just came home from watching the Backrooms film, and both are great films in their own way, and it was a fun time in the theater with my kids, with them and stuff like that. So the kids, they knew the lore about Backrooms and stuff. I just know it from that random photo from like 2005 I saw one time. And so like they were pointing out a bunch of Easter eggs and stuff like that. And I felt so old. But yeah, so yeah, I'm having fun doing that. So I can't wait to talk about it now.
Very good. Well, let's get there quickly. But first, we also welcome Kevin Schaefer, Martin Scorsese in space. What have you been geeking out on?
Gold Leader standing by. And I just watched 2 episodes of Nicolas Cage in a live-action Spider Noir series, which I love that that's a sentence that's true. I mean, the fact that this show exists is pretty awesome. But it is delightful. I mean, I am a big fan of classic noir films like Maltese Falcon, and I loved Nicolas Cage as the voice of Spider Noir in the Spider-Verse films. And if you love that, I think this is delightful. It's wonderfully shot. It doesn't take itself too seriously. Very pulpy, and definitely watch it in black and white. It gives you the option to watch it in color or black and white. The black and white is the way to go. I mean, if you do watch in color, it's kind of cool because it's the more like saturated aesthetic like you would see in Wizard of Oz. But still, this is so much better in the black and white noir. So I'll have a lot more to say about it once I watch the whole series, but the first 2 episodes were spot on.
Kevin, so that's dropped. It's on Amazon Prime, am I right?
Yep.
And do they just drop 2 episodes at a time, or do they drop the whole series?
They dropped the whole series, which I was surprised, and like I kind of appreciated more the return to dropping episodes weekly because it gives me something to look forward to, and I like breaking down the episodes. But they did drop the whole season here, so I'll probably be watching a good chunk of it this weekend, if not the whole. How
many episodes?
8 or 10, maybe.
I think it's 8.
Like that. Yeah. Typical,
I know what I'm watching tonight. After
Dude.
we're done with this, I'm gonna go.
And Lamorne Morris is Robbie Robertson in it. Oh, it's so good. Yeah.
Nice. Awesome.
All right. And last but definitely not least, Christian definitely doesn't work for the New Republic. Ashley, what are you geeking out on?
Yeah, I too am geeking out on Spider Noir. I'm very early on, but I am really enjoying it so far. I think, as opposed to many other things Sony has done with Spider-Man, this is rather well done so far. Maybe they drop the ball later on, but for right now, they've got me.
Excellent.
I agree there. I'm
looking forward to checking that one out as well. But for right now, I'm geeking out on the statistical outlier that is the Knicks' performance in the NBA playoffs over the last 10 or 11 games. They have just done things that no team has ever done before in 60 odd years post-merger, or however you want to reckon it. So that has been very exciting as a long-time Knicks fan, long-suffering Knicks fan. I remember watching the Eastern Conference Finals, or whatever round it was, when the O.J. Simpson White Bronco chase cut in, and we had to do the picture-in-picture because we couldn't possibly not keep up with that as well, and all the other Knicks shenanigans over the years. That's been exciting. I'm also going to make an impassioned plea. I will be pre-geeking out on the Apple TV Plus show Sugar. Someone else, please watch this show so that we can discuss it, because it is so bonkers in ways that are not at all revealed in any of the marketing that I need someone else to confirm that I did not hallucinate the first season of this show.
I love it.
All right. Well, speaking of bandwagons that you can get on the Systematic Ecology bandwagon by liking, subscribing, rating, and reviewing this podcast, this show, this YouTube channel. And you can become a member. You can find a link in the show notes, wherever you're getting this, to hook you up with our Fourth Wall site and get all the details on how to become a member. And if you become a member, you can get a shout out like our financial supporter, Justin Vaughn. You can get access to exclusive content like the bonus question that we'll be answering later. You can get access to a special Discord channel where you can suggest things for us to talk about or engage in extra discussions, all kinds of good stuff. There's also, whether or not you remember, there's merch. The opportunity to make a one-time contribution if a regular contribution is not something you're able to do. All kinds of goodies. So check out those links, check it out. And again, please rate, like, subscribe, all the things that help us get boosted. And if we get 50 likes on this video, which features your lovely countenance, what can people look forward to?
Yeah, if there's 50 likes on this, I will dress up as Rhoda the Hutt in a Rhoda the Hutt outfit and slither my way down the south end of Wrightsville Beach.
Awesome.
Who doesn't want to see that? Come on.
Yep. Who doesn't want to see that?
That is just 50 likes away from your future, folks.
That's right. If it's 49 likes, I'm not going to do it. But if it's 50, I will do that. I'll find Rhoda the Hutt, like one of those, you know how you like those blow up dinosaur costumes or sumo. It's going to be Rhoda the Hutt, one of those, and I'm going to be slithering down the south end of Wrightsville Beach while rolling around. People are having fun on the beach on a crowded day too, like a Saturday crowded day. I'll do it.
Well, I hope that you are blasting your core on your sabbatical, because I think you're going to need it for that activity.
Well, I'm hoping that the suit has it painted on there. It's like that's what I'm hoping.
Well, sure, the look, but I mean, to actually pull off the wriggling, I think you're still going to need to actually have the core muscles. Or maybe you already do. I shouldn't sell you short. You are a surfer.
I'll do it right now. I'll show you. No, just kidding. That's not
fair enough. Anyway, you have reminded us of Rhoda the Hutt, the real star of The Mandalorian and Grogu. So why don't we, without further ado, get into our discussion of that. We are going to be talking about the film. We are going to be spoiling the film, so beware. To the extent that the movie can be spoiled, Not a super heavy plot movie, but we will be talking about everything that happens. So be warned. And then as time allows and as our imagination soars, we will also be discussing where we think Star Wars might be going from here, or where it should go from here, all those kinds of good things. So again, Will, since you are possibly on a shorter time frame, why don't you start us off with your reactions, your thoughts, The Mandalorian and Grogu, the good, the bad, and the ugly.
Yeah, I've kind of taken sabbatical from a lot of different things, even podcasting over the summer because of traveling and coming and going, that kind of stuff. But I had to hop on and talk about Mandalorian and Grogu because I'm, a Star Wars fan from the beginning. That's what awakened the geek in me from way back when the original movie, 1977, as a 5-year-old little kid in the movie theater. And so I'm known as one of the top Star Wars guys on this podcast, and should come on here and talk about the movie. And I was really excited. The first Star Wars movie we've had in the theater in 7 years, and I'm a fan of Mando and Grogu, the Mandalorian TV show. Loved the seasons. I thought there were some complicated feelings when with the Book of Boba Fett and what they did with Grogu and the Mandalorian shoehorned in. I mean, I guess Boba Fett showed up in the Mandalorian, so why wouldn't he show up in Book of Boba Fett? I don't have any problems with that, but having kind of a mini season 2.5 in the Book of Boba Fett was a little like, oh, that's a choice, but you're going to go where the money is and the marketing is. And so for them to make the decision to put this as the next movie, I understand what they're doing in terms of recognizable, marketable face without being legacy characters, why they would make the decision for this to be a movie. And listening to Christian and Kevin's review in an earlier episode, What's New episode, I agree. I felt like this was season 4 of The Mandalorian, and I went in thinking that's what they were going to do. But I couldn't help bringing in some complicated feelings and expectations to this film because I wanted to see some connective tissues to the larger Star Wars universe and wanted to see some homages to legacy characters and that kind of thing. Even though I went in thinking I have no expectations, I just want to have a good time, I couldn't help but bring that with me to the film. So the first watching this film, I had a lot of fun, but I did leave a little disappointed that it wasn't connected to the larger Star Wars universe and legacy characters and the New Republic and what's going on behind the scenes and what's Grogu's backstory and why can't we know more about his planet? And I don't know. There was a lot there for me I brought into it. But about halfway through the film, there was a family of like 7 sitting beside us in the row. And the kids were pretty young, from like 4 years old all the way up to like maybe 10. And I was also thinking, man, there's a lot of scary creatures in here. I hope those kids are okay. I was like, there's some scary moments. I hope they're okay. I can't help but think about that. But then, all the funny parts and the Grogu parts, they were giggling at all the right places where they should be. And they were having so much fun. And there was a point halfway through the movie, I was like, Will, just let go of what you think should happen in this movie and have fun. And I was able to have fun. And I saw it a second time in IMAX this week, knowing the full plot and knowing what was going to happen. And I had an absolute blast. So where like The Last Jedi, I went and saw it a couple of times to like confirm my feelings. And I got more frustrated with it as I watched it each time. This one, I loved it more as I was watching it the second time go around. And I think part of it was, I think it's a great jumping on point for families and kids. And the fact that they didn't lean into big lore and legacy characters with distractions and stuff. They kept it simple for a reason so that this could be a stand-in film for what they do later on down the road. So this can be their James Bond / Indiana Jones flick where you have these standalone adventures moving forward, and then you can have these kind of legacy big crawl movies later on down the road. So that's kind of my feelings. I was hoping a little bit more connective tissues with the larger universe, and then eventually when I let that go, I had fun, and I thought it was a well done movie. And basically Mando is Batman. When I saw the Hoth scene at the beginning, I was like, I'm watching a Batman film. Like he's just kicking butt through that hallway scene. And It was a lot of fun. So I have more thoughts later, but that's kind of where I am. I had a lot of fun with this movie, and I'm warming up to it even more. And then when I hear stories like Evan talking about bringing his kiddo to the film the first time he bring his son has seen a Star Wars movie in the theater, and they had an absolute blast. And then the family next to me, I was like, yeah, this should be something that people can jump on with, and then we'll go from there to see where they take Star Wars. And we'll have more thoughts about what I hope they do later on with more movies. But that's kind of where I am.
Awesome. Thank you. I'll just chime in about the kids and adults and things. You know, to me, it started as a John Wick movie, and then it turns into a Muppet movie. And that was a real tonal clash. And, and I think that's a little bit hard maybe or I was surprised that, you have a movie that appeals to some very young children with Grogu, and the Muppety sequences opening with a very John Wick inspired action sequence. And just as lethal, but not quite as visually so, but certainly in effect.
Even like stab kills, not just laser kills,
flamethrower kills, stab kills. Yeah, I mean he is every bit as effective and as lethal as John Wick, just not quite so explicitly. So that was interesting. But I don't like either of those flavors, but they were not the combination I was expecting. Okay,
one more thought before I lose it. I thought it was an awesome adventure movie, and it was more like Star Creatures, Star Monsters, Star Aliens rather than Star Wars. So I'm used to like the Star Wars and the battle between like the Empire and the Republic. And I know that was like part of the plot line, and it was a very well directed and shot film. So I was more like Star Creatures more than Star Wars. I wanted a little bit more like the development of the New Republic and what those kinds of things. But I certainly understand that for people jumping on and for kids and families not to just bog it down with so much lore. Now I'm understanding the choices that they made, and I think they made the right choice without bogging it down with so much complicated lore or distractions of legacy characters. Like, would I have loved to have like Leia or a de-aged Han Solo or Harrison Ford be the person instead of Sigourney Weaver? I mean, I think she did fine, and I love her as in the lore, but like to have somebody different like that was there would have been cool. But so it was Star Creatures, Star Adventure, Star Monsters, not necessarily Star Epic Battles in space. So yeah, go for it.
No, yeah. I heard it said, and I thought it was a very apt description, that this was a good, probably the best no homework franchise film that there's ever been made. Like, you can just kind of jump into this and just kind of like it, even if you haven't seen it all. And I thought that was impressive because there's 3 seasons and a 0.5 of the show. But no, so yeah, for me, like like Will said, this was my first film where I brought my kid that was old enough, because our first, she was like 2 when she was like a toddler when these sequels were coming out. So she wasn't going to sit for those movies. But this time, my son's 8, and we played hooky from school, and we went to Disney, and we stayed in Star Wars Land all day. We rode the new Smuggler's Run. There's a new version of the Millennium Falcon ride, and they've significantly improved that ride so much. Before, it was very boring. It was the same ride every time. Now you have different options, and there's the music, and there's Hondo, and there's a Baby Yoda. There's an actual plot line and stuff. So we rode that about 12 times just on a single rider and stuff like that. So had a blast, and then we went to go watch the movie, and seeing him just have fun, and it was so good. But my preconceived notions of my assumptions on this movie were, I hope it's not just a really long TV episode. And about halfway through the film, I was like, dang, I really like this. Like, why was I worried? Why was I worried about it if it was a long TV episode? and because I like TV, so this was a good thing. So I really loved the film. Sure, there were some things like every word that Sigourney Weaver said was so clunky. It came out so beyond kind of pulpy. I was just like, this exposition is heavy. Like, what is happening? And there were just a few silly moments. I was like, that's. But overall, the I think it kind of made up for the lack of season 4, and I really liked it in this. And so a lot of people's reaction is that it's not a like episodic Star Wars film, and they wanted something that was bigger and more like in line with the saga. But I like this one because it's just showing that now Star Wars is not it's not a monolith anymore. There's not just one way to tell Star Wars stories. Now we have the comics, the books, whereas we did have it before, but now there's just not one way to tell Star Wars, I don't think, anymore. And sure, there's like Jimmy Mack from Rebel Force Radio, he is calling it whiplash, that the fandom now has whiplash because of all these stories are not connected, and they are going from timeline to timeline. And sure, I'm not saying that some people are not doing that, but I think that shows the growth of the franchise, and to the point of like where this is going to go. I think that it's going to have legs, that I think that Star Wars is going to outlive us, and that kind of freaks me out, but it kind of doesn't. So it's like having a pet turtle. It's like, this little booger is going to live to be like 100 years old. That's crazy. So
oh, Evan, that's such a good analogy. The pet turtle, like pet turtle net holla. Net holla. No, and we're both big fans of Rebel Force Radio, and I think them talking about this being Star Wars having an identity crisis and trying to figure out when it is something that I've kind of resonated with, and we'll talk more about what's the future of Star Wars. But I think this being one of the bigger successes of the Disney era of Star Wars. This being a placeholder film, and then it serving as between these episodic, the big crawl movies, having the adventure of the year, adventure of the week, adventure of the TV show with Mando and Grogu, and seeing them progress as the years go on, like a James Bond movie or Indiana Jones movie or whatever. I'm kind of on board with that. I'm now, after seeing this movie a couple of times, I've really warmed up to be like, cool, let's do that. They might do something, another season 5 on Disney Plus, but why not let that be like the in between standalone movies that bring me back to these characters that I really love. We'll talk more about things that I really loved and things that I thought were missed opportunities or things that didn't hit right later on. But I'm with you, like that kind of placeholder or identity crisis. And trying to find what they're going on, and them to make the choice to say, this is where we're going to put our energy, to put it in the film for now, to really set, to not overbog it, to get people to the theaters, to have fun again and let kids enjoy it and buy a Grogu t-shirt and a Mandalorian mask. I mean, the violence mixed with the Muppets with Andy is so there. I resonate with that too. I was like, what am I watching? It's something that parents like. I have some friends that have elementary, 5, 6, 7-year-olds. Like, should I go see this? I was like, there's some parts that are really scary, man. They're like Voldemort scary. And I'm like, yeah. If they've watched Harry Potter, I guess they can watch this. But like, there's some stuff in there that kind of mixed with. They got to play around and figure out. You got aging adults like me, and then you have kiddos you want to bring into the franchise, and this isn't a bad place to do that. I don't think you're going to do that with too much else that's out there within the franchise, but yeah, I resonate with what you said there, Evan.
All right, thanks. And Christian, you want to jump in now?
Yeah, sure. So like I shared in the other episode, I've seen the film once. I was going to see it again. I have seen it again. And after seeing the film twice, I think my original rating of a 7 out of 10 is exactly where I land right now. It's inoffensive. Nice. It's safe. It's not the greatest, grandest story ever, but it's got characters I do care about on screen, getting old ones back on screen we haven't seen in quite some time, with Rada and the like. As divisive as the Clone Wars movie was forever ago. I've grown to like it a little bit more since initially it came out.
Stinky.
Good old Stinky has become a man, a slug, and gotten a lot more buffer.
Who talks like a California surfer. That's fun.
Yeah, exactly.
It took me a second.
So overall, I do enjoy the film. I don't regret seeing it twice. The third time, maybe you're pushing it a little bit. I might need a little more space in between viewings, but I think I'm still left where I was in our initial review. It's like, okay, this is great. I enjoyed it. Where's the rest? There should be 5 episodes after this. We watched 3 40-minute episodes in a movie. There should be 5 more, right? If we're doing 8 episodes, and that's a pathetic amount, but modern television, I'll settle for 8, I guess. So you should always be wanting more after watching something, but this one left me wanting more in a bad way. And we don't know when season 4 is coming out, or if there is a season 4 at all at this point in time. And I'll give a counter to this. Is recently, I should have mentioned in Geeking Out, the X-Men 97 trailer for season 2 came out. Wow. And I really enjoyed that one. And I remember reading somewhere that now they're going to do yearly releases, which it's still only 10-ish episodes, but at least it's yearly. And that keeps me hyped up for these things. It keeps me not having to forget, what happened because there's been so long a distance. Yeah, I can always rewatch these whenever I want, but I shouldn't have to do it every 2-3 years, sometimes even longer than that for certain things. And it's really disappointing, but film wise itself, love it for what it is, even though I still want more. The fight scenes were really engaging, and they were done in different ways. It wasn't just straight up blaster and shoot, as been mentioned, the flamethrower was brought in. You have Vito Zeb fights in the film. You have Grogu's contributions in that regard. In many ways, I love the different aliens we got to see here. I always love seeing that. Star Wars is not just humans. Yeah, for a TV show budget, sometimes you just have to keep humans on because they're cheaper. But, in a movie, you may get a little extra money on the side. You can show a little more. So I'm grateful they did that. The long silent scene that we talked about previously as well, I grew to appreciate that a lot more on second viewing of Grogu, taking care of Din. Then showing how he's grown. Should he be talking by now? Yes, but that's its own separate thing. It is what it is, but the love they have for each other is great. And I'm also left where I was last time when I'm saying, when we really had an arc in the film. And once again, I think that's the same thing. If we were watching this as a TV show, I wouldn't be expecting that in the same way that I would for a movie. So I'm still questioning why it had to be a movie. I'm glad it seems to be doing well for itself, enough to get budget back, maybe at the very least. But this was just safe, and I'm upset.
It's an interesting place to land. And yeah, I think one of my challenges is, as we spend more and more time with the Mandalorian and Grogu, is I think the concept of Grogu wasn't built to have legs this long. The idea that he's an adorable little toddler who is also 50 years old and traumatized and doesn't speak because of trauma, not lack of maturity, and is expected to understand the ramifications of going into battle and prepare himself for that, but also can't be trusted to not eat all the snacks and press all the buttons because he's just an adorable little toddler. So yeah, I think there's also a clash there, a tonal clash there, a conceptual clash there, that they're just, the more time it's like a magic trick, it works great, but the more time you stare at it, the more times you show me the magic trick, I'm going to figure out what's going on there. And you don't want me to pay attention to that so much. So we'll see where that goes going forward. But I want to get
a real fast gripe, real quick gripe, with him telling Grogu to heal. What are we doing? That made me so mad. I was like, he's not a dog. He's your friend. He's your son. Stop telling him to heal. Right.
He's older than you.
He's older than you, and you're telling him to heal. Hey, come here. No, leave it. Or come on. Anything you would do with a tree, but to call him to heal. That ball he did a number of times, but
Yes.
that's one of the things I really liked that sequence the second time around. I did think the first time I saw it, I thought that sequence of him now Hutta, like callbacks to Dagobah and the swamp and all that stuff, drug on too long the first time I saw it for some reason. But the second time I really leaned into it, and I love the arc of him being him himself and becoming his own person and taking care. That whole tagline, I'm here at my mom's house taking care of my mom who has dementia, and like the old taking care of the young and then the young taking care of the old. Man, it just hit me right in the feels. And this is the way. And that's the only time they said it with that. And I was like, yeah, the second time around, I just enjoyed that so much.
It's amazing how Star Wars grows up with you like that, right?
Yeah. And that was great. So him telling Grogu to heal, and then this was the spot. This was the movie where you had him say the word, whether it's "this is the way" or whether somebody's name. Why they didn't do that in this movie is just beyond me. I'm so, you don't have to have Luke Skywalker fly in. That's fine. But to have him like say his first word in this first debut in the film, I don't know why they didn't do that. So anyway, that's my gripes. But I love that seeing Nal Hutta and him finding the old wise man in the rocking chair and stuff. Like that. Second go around, I was like, I'm all in this. I could sit on that for a while. That was, season 4. That would have been a whole episode of like episode 6 in the series, whatever, and just like lean into it. I would have been fine. But that
bottle episode.
Yeah, it was good.
All right. Kevin, you want to hop in with some of your thoughts?
Yeah, Kevin.
Yeah. Christian and I had very similar thoughts in the What's News episode, and I would say I'm still pretty much in the same mindset as well. Like I've still only seen it once. I am planning on taking my niece and nephew next weekend, and it's one of those things. Like I think my niece will do fine. My nephew is getting huge into Star Wars, but he is sick, so I'm a little concerned about some of the I don't think he'll be terrified, but it's like after that initial scene, I think he'll be okay. But I think he will enjoy it, but that's my only concern going in. But yes, very similar to Christian. I enjoyed it. I had a good time. And I have wanted to see these characters on the big screen since the show premiered, like whether that would be in the form of they release a couple episodes at the beginning of the season in theaters or, do a movie. I don't think the movie from a storytelling perspective was perfect by any means. I think it was definitely several episodes strung together, even though they said, they had written season 4 originally, then they got the order from Disney to make it a movie, so they scrapped those plans. That's fine, but they still definitely wrote the screenplay as a culmination of a few episodes. And I brought this up on What's News the other night, but I said, because I've been hearing over and over again for really, even since before the movie dropped, that, it's never been a success where they've done a standalone movie that's set in the same universe as a TV show that's been good. And I disagree with that because Batman Massacre of the Phantasm is set in the universe of Batman the Animated Series, and it is a phenomenal movie. It's you can watch that movie without really knowing anything about Batman or the animated series or the lore, and you get this deep emotional journey and a great arc for the character. So I think it can be done. And yes, I do wish that there was more of that arc and emotional depth in this movie. Still totally fine with, I love Indiana Jones. I love adventure serials like that. So there's nothing wrong with making a safe, more fun adventure like this. But at the same time, still have some kind of development. And Andy, to your point, I do think Grogu needs to evolve at some point. I know it's very much a corporate clash where, yes, they've built the marketing and the identity of the character around him being a cute puppet version of what Yoda would be like as a baby. But if they want the character to grow at all and for this relationship to evolve, then the character needs to grow up. And, that'll be a risk, but I think Star Wars can have fun adventures and also take risks. And I'll get into a little more of that when we talk about where the franchise can go from here.
Evan alluded to the fact that Star Wars is going to outlive all of us, and I believe that as well, especially me being one of the elder statesmen here on the podcast. But man, before I die, can I please see like a Star Wars movie 500 years in the future and have like a badass little Grogu with a Mandalorian outfit, wielding a lightsaber, kicking butt, leader of a new Jedi Order. Like I need that. Can you? Disney, I'm putting that in the universe. Somebody, I need that before I die. If I'm 80 years old and I have grandkids that I can take to the theater
Perfect.
to see that movie, that's fine if it's 30 years from now. But like, I need to see a grown up Grogu wielding that mask, some Beskar armor, and a lightsaber. I need it.
Real quick, I did remember one thing. As someone who despises the Book of Boba Fett and the many things that it represents, I loved the ending that they gave the twins. It made me feel really good.
Nice. Yeah.
Speaking of, we've already kind of touched on some of the legacy aspect of this movie that the Mandalorian is thinking about Grogu's future as well as his own future. And since we're in a year where the podcast is in a year where our theme is the faces behind us and the legacy of different people and so forth, does anybody else want to kind of riff on that idea or have some more thoughts about sort of the role or the theme in this movie? Because I think if it does have a theme, it's maybe a little bit light on that. But if it does have a theme, certainly one of them is
Andy, what would you think your theme would be if it had like an overall theme?
Yeah, I think how we prepare the next generation to go beyond us.
Yeah,
Yoda's quote for sure. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think it handles it effectively enough. And when with him and Grogu, it's this idea he is definitely going to outlive him. We know Yoda lived to be 900 years old. Why should Grogu be any different? Assuming he doesn't die at some point in time of unnatural causes, which I wouldn't ask for. Which is why he's definitely not there at the Academy, like the other nameless characters who died for no good reason because sequel trilogy. It's one of those things with him, like his story is going to last way long, but the foundations of who he is, he started with the Jedi Order, training there, and now however many years in the future since then, like 20, 30 some, like that's where he started, but this is where he is at now. So there's a long period there where there seems to be like the stagnation, or maybe he was just on the run, having to survive on the kindness of strangers. Maybe we don't know because he can't talk. But what we can do is see him interact with his dad, and like he's called out multiple times as his father, Din is, because that's exactly who he is. And now I see the man that Grogu is going to become as he ages is going to be affected immensely by the first real person in his life to, like, as far as we're aware, take care of him in this way, look after him, teach him. Like at the end, you're teaching him how to fly the ship instead of just pressing buttons. That's huge. He's just a foundling right now, but eventually he'll get that armor one day and it'll look super cute. But I don't know if they'll ever give him a helmet because we can't show it. We have to show his face for merchandising and the like. But yeah, I think that works well. But also with Rada, on the other side of things, well, could you have a worse father in this universe? I'm outside of Palpatine, maybe. We have. Thank you. A crime lord. Ordered the deaths of countless people, run slave trade rings, drug rings, smuggling, and causing all this death and devastation wherever he went. And now you want to become your own man? Well, as memeable as that line is, as Kevin talked about when we did it, your father's Jabba the Hutt, blah, blah, blah. Well, yeah, I mean, that makes perfect sense. I don't want to be that man. I want to be my own man. So let me make myself into something new. And I love his decision to become part of the New Republic and like, do what it seems like no other Hutt in that sphere of influence has ever done before, bringing more characterization to a species rather than, like I said earlier on the other episode, just making them be gangsters and criminals.
I love that, Christian. And that bugged me too. Like there's two things that really bugged me. Even the second go around, I was like, why they do this? One is, heal Grogu. And the other one was like, I'm my own man. I'm like, dude, you're a Hutt. Why couldn't he in Huttese say, I am my own Hutt? Would have been awesome. Just had that one subtitle. Why he said that, I don't know. He said it a number of times. But then I think this is also about apprenticeship. In terms of, as much as I would have loved Grogu to stay with Luke Skywalker and learn to be a Jedi and be a part of the new Jedi order and whatever, how they would do that. I would have loved him to stay with Luke. That's just my thing. But I understand the corporate decision to like, we got to get these guys back together. They're a cash cow. Let's do it. But for him now to be an apprentice, like I was really worried, like all these things of like flipping around on AT-ATs and flying and jetpacks. I'm like, dude, why are you bringing this toddler with you on these things? Leave him on the ship. Like it needs to be safe. Why are you taking him with you? But to see being modeled how he does things and fights, but also he's now turned a leaf as well in terms of the Din Djarin is like, I'm not a bounty hunter anymore. I work for the Republic. I don't work for the Hutts. He's found a way, an ethical kind of moral compass for him and how he operates, and he's showing that to Grogu as well and modeling that for him. I think is pretty cool to see. And I love that apprenticeship. That would be the theme that I see, apprenticeship. Yeah, there's adventures, there's monsters, all that stuff, but he's modeled for him. I sent the meme of like The Last of Us of Ellie healing Pascal. And here you have the same thing happening here. But I think he's modeling for Grogu, and then that scene of him on now how to like taking care of him and learning how to fend for himself was a really cool scene that moves the story a little bit further along for me.
Yeah, like the film does touch on the faces behind these characters, stuff, which is ironic because it's what we're doing. So that's pretty cool. I love all that. Yeah.
Go ahead, Kevin, if you had something you wanted to add.
No, I think there one comment I had coming out of it was, they don't do much with it, but I thought it was interesting that they have them fighting droids toward the end because Din Djarin's parents were killed by battle droids. And so there is slight callbacks there. I wish they had done maybe a little more with that in terms of, because like that's the thing about I think one of the key elements of Din Djarin and Grogu's relationship is that Grogu brings out some of the vulnerability in him when he is this hardened bounty hunter, Mandalorian, like always, keeping this code. And, but the reality is like, he has these human emotions as well, that he grapples with. And so, I think there was some of that. And I do really love the scene, where, Grogu has to revive, Din. I think, that could have been maybe raise the stakes a little more emotionally. Like obviously he's not going to die there, but still maybe if that had that would have been a great hey, Star Wars back, okay, we're gonna kill Mando here. But yeah, just raise the stakes there. But I do like that how the relationship is evolving. I think there is more potential for that, and that's why hopefully we will get another season at some point to really expand on those themes, because in many ways this movie, like at least the blueprint of it, was what I wanted more of from season 3, because I think season 3 is a very mixed bag of like tying up loose ends from Clone Wars mythology. And I love characters like Bo-Katan, but I thought the focus was so split, and this was more the two of them going on missions and bonding more, and exploring characters like Rada and those themes. So there was a lot here that I think would be better expanded upon in another season of the show.
And I can see where people go and take their kids to this movie and they're like, I want to know more. I'm going to go back and watch the series. And for them, they're going to be like, oh, that's why, these droids, that's why I said that's so meaningful. Oh, he does have a whole, like the armor and the religion and why it meant so much to take his helmet off or on and what that means. So I can see it as like diehard fans are there. They know those callbacks and what it means for that. But for people who are just jumping in with this movie, can go back and watch these seasons and catch up and do that in the meantime while we're waiting for the next movie or the next series. I imagine people will hop back in, and word of mouth will be like, this is a fun movie. If you like Star Wars, if your kids, hop right in. And I think it's a smart decision and well done. It is a little safe. I agree with Christian. There's some of that. They're like taking a little bit more risk in there. But I'm the diehard fan that wants to see more and see some of that stuff happen. And, But yeah, this is fine for what it is, and people will jump back in and we'll go from there.
You mentioned the taking off the helmet, so that's a big thing. The Mandalorian on the show. He's part of this group that always keeps their helmet on in the presence of other people. As was seen in the trailer, the helmet comes off for a bit because you can't pay Pedro Pascal to be in your movie and not show people what they want, the face of Pedro Pascal. So how are we? Have we bought into the whole, Mandalorian cults and religions and things? Were we invested in that? And did the handling of that in the movie make sense? Did it feel just more like a marketing mandate, or where are we? Do we not care because we don't really care about the Mandalorian code? How did that work for people?
I was a little confused. I thought he had already kind of put that behind him. Like, I know I forgot what happened in season 3. I know they had these two factions of the progressives and then the people who don't take their helmets off and more conservative, with the lack of better labels. But like I thought they kind of was like, oh, we're coming together and it's a little bit looser now. So for him to be like, oh, we know your lore, you can't take your helmet off, was a little confusing me. I was like, I thought we moved past that, but if he's still taking on that creed, then yeah, I thought they teased it enough. I don't know, Evan, if your kid knows the lore of that, if that made sense for him, and that's going to go too deep, but it's a part of that helmet. You got to take his helmet off. You got to show his face a little bit in the movie. I think you have to. Kind of like Spider-Man and Toby and all that stuff.
Yeah.
With what you're going to do in terms of mask with Spider-Man and all the actors. Iron Man.
Yeah, being online and talking about this with some people online. Which, by the way, if you're listening to this, please follow us on our socials and stuff like that. So, but I was a little bummed that it didn't, like what you were saying, Will, like because to me, I thought this was just my bias, but I was like, I found out that it wasn't just me thinking this, but it was the seasons 1 through 3 of A Mandalorian were very much a deconstruction out of like fundamentalism and high control stuff that I deeply resonated with, and I was kind of bummed that this wasn't in this film. But then I came to peace with it, because there's a point where you have to move on from that stuff, where you have to find your own footing and to help take care of those that you are leaving behind. So yeah, so kind of it touched on it, but not really with the helmet scene. So yeah.
I would say there's a lot. It's like the movie doesn't really touch on in terms of narrative from previous seasons, because Will, at the beginning of season 3, he had to bathe in the waters there with the Children of the Watch because he had removed his helmet in previous seasons. So they do all that, but also like season 3 ended with him and Grogu essentially retiring, and then they don't really explain from that point to here why they're back in action, because at the beginning of this movie, they're back to hunting down rogue Imperial officers. So I just kind of, when I was watching the movie, I just kind of had to divorce myself from like, they're not really gonna have much there isn't connected tissue here, because I mean, I would love to see more of that lore, and I'll get to that in just but I was saying a little bit about where I think they should go in terms of both taking risks and exploring the more philosophical stuff, and both with Mandalorian culture and with Jedi, because that stuff I'm super fascinated by, and also the more safe, fun adventure stuff. But I don't think there's not really much to say about how it addresses the Children of the Watch and Mando's background with what they do in this movie. There's a lot more of that in this season, and I think they could have continued that. Again, if this, I sound like a broken record, if this had been a season, but yeah, there is some, but to your point, people who are kind of newer to this could go back and watch the show after that, after seeing the movie, if they've never seen it. And, that's, that works too, Yeah.
I think this, along with many things, is a casualty of the writing of season 3. In the fact that we have all these grand ideas set up. We have, Grogu leaving, Mando behind, go with Luke as one of his, if not his first student. We have the whole dark saber. Now he's in control, like by right, of all Mandalorians everywhere. So what does that mean for someone who's been raised as the wrong kind of fundamentalist versus, different, the way typically Mandalorians are fundamentalists in their regards. And now that was taken away from everything too, because, oh no, we can't have our characters changing or anything. We have to keep things simple. And so the audiences can be aware and just, look at up from their phones every now and then and be okay with themselves. It's more of a Netflix credo, but I'm sure Disney Plus is just as guilty of that. So it not being focused on here made perfect sense to me, because that would confuse people. We can't possibly, expect everyone to show up.
For people.
We can't expect them to do their work before they watch something. They just want to pay money and see something.
How dare we assume that audiences have intelligence? Come on. It's like the studio motto.
Well, we've touched on a lot of things, and we've also mentioned the length of this episode, and we've mentioned what they could do in future seasons of The Mandalorian things. So I think we are going to act like a TV show and not a movie, and pause for station identification, and come back in another episode and talk more about the movie if people want to, but also more focused on where Star Wars could go from here, both with these characters and other characters and so forth. So yeah, we're going to pause for station identification. We are Systematic Ecology, and we greatly appreciate when you like, rate, review, subscribe, all the things, and all the places, YouTube, podcast catchers, podcast distributors, and so forth, and becoming a member on our Fourth Wall site. So look for that link in the show notes, in the show description, wherever you're listening and or watching this. And become a member, and you can get a shout out if you financially support us, like our member Justin Vaughn, who has been contributing. You can get access to our merch. You can get access to exclusive content, like the question we will be talking about later. So we will come back in a second regular episode to talk about the future of Star Wars. We will give our recommendations there, but then there will be a separate bonus question segment for members only on which of the many, many Star Wars movies that have been announced post-Disney but have not been made. The Rian Johnson trilogy, the Taika Waititi movie, the Kevin Feige movie, the Steven Soderbergh Kylo Ren movie, all of these movies. I know some of them might still get made, some of them have kind of been unofficially axed, but for the purposes of this question, you are the emperor of Star Wars. You can make whatever of these movies you want. So we'll find out what our hosts want to see get made from that list in that bonus question. But yeah, please check that out. Like this video 50 times so that we can see Will Rose don a Rod of the Hutt costume and do some Rod of the Hutt choreography, which I will just throw out there. I did not expect so much Hutt fighting, and I didn't hate it. There was some clever choreography there.
It's pretty creative.
So shout out to the fight choreographer for this film who came up with that action. Also shout out to Lateef Crowder, who spends more time in the Mando suit than Pedro, allegedly doing all the stunts for the Mandalorian. So good stuff there. But yes, so for now, we are just going to take a pause. We hope to see you in the future episode, talking about the future of Star Wars. And until then, remember, if you are going to geek, do so systematically.
Hey, podcast fam, want to stay even more connected with the show? We've got you covered. Check us out on Instagram and Blue Sky, where we're posting exclusive content and bonus videos and fun updates that you won't get anywhere else. From sneak previews of upcoming episodes to bonus content, our social accounts are the best way to keep the conversation going. Plus, it's a great spot for you to interact with other listeners and share your thoughts. We love hearing from you. When you follow us, it helps us grow and continue bringing you the content that you love. Whether it's a funny poll, a quick clip from today's episodes, or just random thoughts, you'll feel more plugged into everything we're doing. So go ahead and hit that follow button on Instagram and Blue Sky. It's one more way to be a part of the show and keep the good vibes flowing. Thanks for being a part of the family, and we can't wait to see you there.
This is Joshua Knoll. I am one of the hosts of this podcast. I am also host a few other shows on the Anazal Podcast Network that this show is a part of. If you want to hear more from me, you can check out the Whole Church Podcast, where TJ and I go through talking to people from various different church traditions to see what can be done to better harness church unity in the world today. You can also hear me on Be Living Water, where I talk about Taoist Christian beliefs and examine various media like the Book of Daniel and Les Miserables through a Taoist Christian perspective. You can also hear me as I do some of the voice work for the Bible After Hours, where the foul-mouthed preacher goes through the Bible from a more progressive point of view. Thank you guys for listening, and I hope you'll consider checking out these other shows on the Anazal Podcast Network.